trying to prevent Jews from becoming Christians.
Okay. So let me tell you,
Yeah.
nowhere in the Talmud, and the reason I mention the Talmud is because that's our source material, does it ever mention a church. It just doesn't mention churches, nor does it mention Christians. So I understand that more modern rabbis equate Christianity with idolatry, but that's like trying to define our older texts with new lenses. Because of the affluence and boredom that the average Jew experiences by living in a Christian country, meaning because it's so safe for them, it's like our proclivity to bite the hand that feeds us. Unless the Talmud says that Christianity is idolatry. First of all, this notion of Jews praying in a mosque was only the opinion of Maimonides. Only the opinion of Maimonides. Before Maimonides, the rabbis believed that Islam was idolatry. This is why Maimonides became famous, because he wrote a letter to the community of Yemen who was choosing to be unalived instead of forcibly converted to Islam under the Almohads. So we have to separate nuance from what the original text says. You're telling me what the Lubavitcher Rebbe says or some modern day rabbi, that doesn't count because they're part of the hypocrisy. If Judaism doesn't prohibit it, and then we can make an argument that it's, okay, Christianity, I get it, traditional Christianity, I've never defended any group that believes the Torah has been done away with. However, a Messianic Jew who happens to believe in Jesus or in all these things, and first of all, the argument made by modern day missionaries is that the issue Judaism has with Christianity is believing that God could become a man. That would not have been the issue in the Talmud, by the way. That argument is never mentioned in the Talmud as something negative. I don't believe that God would want to become a man, but it's just not in the Talmud. The issue the Talmud would have is with someone saying that the Torah is done away with and at the same time calling themselves Israel. Now, being that Christians call themselves the branch grafted in, they consider themselves to be a holy priesthood through Jesus, is them calling themselves Israel without the Torah. That's the only issue the Talmud would have with this idea. Post Maimonides was the one, the Rambam was the one who made the whole, believing in the Trinity is idolatry because of Islam. Islam, based on Aristotle and all these philosophical attempts to dissect God, came up with this notion just because they needed to distinguish themselves from Christianity somehow. And this is why you're not going to find attacks on the Trinity in the Talmud. You're not going to see attacks in the Talmud on what we call shituf, which is like partnerships in the Godhead, meaning that God has a cousin, God has this. It's just not there. Yes, you'll find it in the Rambam. And I've debated this topic many times, and they'll say, like, do you think you know more than the Rambam? Well, I'll be like, do you think you know more than people who disagree with the Rambam? So it's kind of like this silly game of my rabbi could beat up your rabbi. There are certain rules in Judaism. If it doesn't appear in the Mishnah, which is part of the Talmud, and it doesn't appear in the Torah, it's technically gray area. You don't get punished for doing it. However, nowadays, they want to throw everyone under the bus. They want to quote Maimonides. Maimonides was the biggest anti-Christian. Unlike Ashkenazim, like Tosfos and the Ramah, who taught that Christianity is actually not idolatry for Christians, for Gentiles. Well, Maimonides believed that it was idolatry for everyone, and then he taught that Islam was an idolatry. He's what's called a Dat Yachid, a lone voice in Judaism, but a very influential one. So now the average person, they think, because the bulk of their Judaism they pick up from, I don't know, Rabbi Mizrahi or Rabbi Tovia Singer, that everybody agrees with this, and it's not true.
I see that Maimonides, is it how you pronounce it?
Yeah. The Rambam, you could say the Rambam.
Yeah. He apparently had said that even though Jesus was wrong, Christianity might playing a good role in the God's plan, something like that, just like you said.
And he never mentions atheism, by the way. He mentions Islam and Christianity having redeemable qualities. That means it's helped. About atheism, not a word. So this idea that we prefer an atheist, according to Jewish law, that we think it's better to be an atheist than a Christian, practically that doesn't even make sense. The people ruining our lives today are not Christians. They're atheists.